Well, Tony Evans did a video talking about a call to biblical manhood, and it's a good sermon. I love Tony Evans. He's one of my favorite, especially he's probably my favorite black pastor out there. One of my favorite pastors, out there. But as far as black, him and EV Hill, I don't know if anybody knows. Give me a comment, like and subscribe. But does anybody know EV Hill? Anybody heard of that? He's dead now. Man, he's a black pastor. I love that guy, EV Hill. But anyway, call to biblical manhood. And the big thing is at the end of his sermon on a call to biblical manhood, he says you need to take the red pill. And I thought, oh my goodness, if anybody's familiar with the red pill community out there, I thought, whoa, Tony Evans is calling every man to take the red pill. I'm pretty sure he's not saying it in the same way, the red pill, like with the manosphere and the MGTOW, whatever, that type of red pill. I thought that was interesting. He calls them the red pill. But let me go to where he says that, and then we'll back up here.
If you take this red pill, you're going to have powers that you never dreamt of. If you take this red pill, you're going to fall in love with a woman named Trinity that you could only have dreamt of. You're going to get a relationship you never dreamt of. If you take this red pill, you're going to have a problem because there's a dude up here named Mr. Smith, and he can replicate himself over and over again, and he's going to try to stop you. But because you took this red pill, you're going to be able to overcome Mr. Smith. So the question is, which pill do you want? Do you want to leave here and go back to your plain old ordinary manhood? Or do you want to leave here or stay here and get this thing done so that you become the person you were created to be? We've been waiting on you, Neo, but it's your choice what pill you take. So I want to say to all the men here today, I got two pills.
He's got two pills.
And you take the blue pill and you go home to your plain old ordinary life. You go back to your plain old ordinary job and you live your plain old ordinary way. But in this hand, I got a red pill. And if you take this red pill, you're going to find
take the red pill.
Ability that you did not possess, strength that you did not own, and a new relationship that you didn't think possible.
Man.
Neo took the red pill. And then Morpheus says, okay, now, let's see how far this rabbit hole goes. So I want to see if I have some men here who'll take the red pill.
Men, take the red pill.
I will be God's man, for God's standard, for God's glory. I will become the man of my house. I will influence my realm and be the man that God created me to be. Come on, somebody.
Come on, somebody. It's the call. Men, take the red pill. And I love Tony Evans. I'm pretty sure, though, I don't know if Tony understands there is a community called the Red Pill community. Because in his preaching, I don't think I'm going to back up here to some of the things he said, because I'm pretty sure he is not speaking the language of the red pill as he gives this. Again, let me back up, though. Some of the stuff he says I'll comment on.
The refusal or failure of males to become men, as God has defined it. The inability to go beyond their plumbing, to be able to define themselves as God defines, has created havoc in every level. Now, we know there are many exceptions to this rule, but the reality is, when you look at the scope of the decline of marriages, of churches, of the climate in the culture, much of it can be tied to
here it is,
the absence of Adam. Men not being in their God-ordained space. Ezekiel 22:30, God said.
So and here's the decline. I somewhat agree with this, but I think we better put a big asterisk here. So he says the decline of everything. This is his call to biblical manhood. Again, is what I'll put a link to the thing. here, the video, but the decline is due to men not leading in the church, men not leading in the families, men, blah, blah, blah. And I would say, Tony, if you've really taken the red pill, would it be fair to say that a big contributor to the decline is also feminism in the church, feminism in the family, women not submitting to their husbands and to the authority of the church? Would it be fair to say that a big contributor to our decline today is what we see in the female community as well? Now, I think Tony knows that. I mean, as a large church pastor, he would have to see the dysfunction of the females in his church. And maybe he just says, nope, it's all just blamed on the men. I don't know. But he would have to see that dysfunction. And so I would say, Tony, you can't just put it all on the men. Like, if you're the captain of the ship and you have a first mate, and we'll use that analogy for the husband and the wife. There's the captain and then there's the first mate. The first mate has to submit to the captain, right? If the ship's going to function well, you can't have a rebellious crew and a rebellious first mate and then expect the ship to sail to port in the direction it's supposed to go. If everybody is in rebellion and not in submission to the captain, then you're going to have chaos. You can't have that going on and expect things to be all right. So Tony, and I think Tony knows this, right? He knows this. Anyway, let's go on.
In Genesis chapter 18, we are looking at a culture in chaos, in decline, and getting ready to experience judgment. Sodom and Gomorrah.
Uh-oh, Sodom and Gomorrah.
All of their problems were due to men.
So again, and he's going to make an analogy here too, from Sodom and Gomorrah in that day to our day, that all of our problems are due to men as well, just like it was in Sodom and Gomorrah. But I think one major difference between our society today and the society back in Sodom and Gomorrah is you have feminism and this equality stuff of, well, we're all equal, blah, blah, blah. There is no submission of women to men, blah, blah, blah. So it's easy, and I think it's more logical to blame men if the men actually have authority and the people are actually following the men. But to me, it's harder to blame the men if they're not actually being followed, right? If the command is to submit, but no one's actually submitting, it's hard to blame the captain if he has a rebellious crew that's not submitting to his leadership and judgment as he pilots the ship into safe waters, right? Let's go on.
The misunderstanding is that it's the woman's job to raise the children. That may come from the culture. It doesn't come from the scripture. It says, I command Abraham to raise the children and to teach them righteousness and justice. Ephesians 6:4 says, fathers, raise your children. In the Bible, it is the job of the man to raise the children, not the woman. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 9.
So again, now I mean, hopefully he doesn't mean literally, like it's the father's job to literally raise the children, right? Like raising meaning nurture, care for, that kind of stuff. Like I don't think anybody's that deluded to really believe that, oh no, it's your job to actually raise, because then you would say, okay, so is the wife going to go and work in the marketplace or farm or mine or what, whatever throughout history that had to be done to make money. Like he's not saying that, but it is interesting when he goes back to Abraham. He says Abraham was in charge of raising his children, blah, blah, blah. Now, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, what do we call them in scripture? We call them the patriarchs. We call them the patriarchs. Now, why do we call them the patriarchs? Because they had a patriarchy. They had authority in their homes. they were accountable, they were responsible, and they also had authority in their home. Now, today, men have all the responsibility, have all the accountability, but I would argue they do not have hardly any authority. So when he says you need to raise your children, well, first off, I would probably say at least half of his church is probably single mothers in there. And you would ask, now, is that the fault of the father for abandoning the family? Or could it be, and I think we're seeing this more and more and more and more, that the mothers don't want to marry the fathers. The father who got them pregnant, they didn't really want to marry him because he was not really that good of marriage material. He was good enough to sleep around with, but he wasn't good enough to marry. I think we see that over and over again, where when you ask him, well, did you marry? Nah, I didn't really like, he wasn't marriage material, blah, blah. But I still had his baby. Well, again, you can't have patriarchy if the woman does not say, yes, I will be your wife, I will submit to your authority as the head of the family. Here, you can't have that. You can't have that. So let me wrap up here with Tony. I like Tony. He's one of my favorites, favorite pastors. But when he says take the red pill, man, I think, boy, I don't think he quite has taken the red pill yet in the sense of the red pill community, because patriarchy in our society has been completely obliterated. Like, men don't have authority, any real tangible authority in their homes. Like, the state has taken that power away. And so when you bring up Abraham raising children, those kinds of things, you really only have the authority that you're allowed to have by your wife. And if she wants to pull that, or the wife or baby's mama, whatever you want to define that as. But if she wants to pull that power from you, well, there's no fault divorce, there's child support, there's all. So she can certainly pull that power from you very, very quickly, very quickly. But, with all that being said, Christ is winning. He is building his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Until next time, this is the Post Millennial Man